Syndicated Source Material.
Today, the book that I've chosen is Hulk Thing Hard Knocks. This is a mini-series that came out in 2004-2005 involving the Incredible Hulk and Fantastic Four's Ben Grimm the Thing. This is something that I found that was in an auction lot that I ended up getting. Never heard of it. Didn't know what it was, but the lot that I got, this guy, the lot from the auction, this guy had a ton of stuff that he'd bought, and when he would buy something, he completed the series. So I got I think 2 long boxes, and there was a bunch of stuff in there, and this was one of them. So I was like, well, I've never read it. This is up till about 2 weeks ago. It's the first time I ever read it. This came out, like I said, in 2004, 2005. Why I picked this book, again, like I said, it's nice and short, 4 issues long. It's actually a really quick read. The Hulk and the Thing are 2 of Marvel's biggest powerhouses. There have been a few occasions that I've been able to go ahead and grab an issue or 2 involving these 2 battling. And usually, what you really see is that these 2 guys never got along. Well, I can remember the first issue I ever bought that had the Hulk versus the Thing was Hulk 350. And I'll never forget the cover. It had, I think, the Hulk on one side, the Thing on the other. And in the middle was Dr. Doom. And it was a pretty epic cover. And I can remember the battle, reading it. From what I remember, the Hulk beats the Thing. Now, this is the Gray Hulk, by the way. Let me give you a real quick background on who the Hulk and Thing are, okay? I know you guys, again, listening to this, more than likely already know. But for those of you that are new, may not know a whole lot about comic books, comic book characters, whatever. The Incredible Hulk, Bruce Banner, caught in the wave. His origin is that he was caught in the blast of a gamma bomb, his own creation, and it created a Jekyll and Hyde monster called the Incredible Hulk, where if Bruce Banner gets too irritated, by now I figure a lot of people have seen the Avengers or the Hulk movies, but if Bruce Banner gets too irritated, he ends up becoming the Green Goliath, the Incredible Hulk. Now, as for Ben Grimm, the Thing, he was part of a group of astronauts, 4 astronauts that went up into space. These astronauts were bombarded with cosmic radiation. They came back down to Earth. They all suffered some type of change to their bodies and given superpowers. Ben Grimm, who was the kind of the jock of the 4 astronauts, he was the pilot. He was the jock pilot. So let's get that right. But he was changed into a huge rock monster by the name of the Thing. So there's your quick origin stories. Both are tremendously powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. Hulk 350, I talked a little bit about that. I'm going to just bring this up because it's actually pretty relevant to this story. Fantastic Four number 12. Fantastic Four number 12 was the first meeting between Aunt Petunia's ever-loving blue-eyed Thing and the Mean Green Machine, the Incredible Hulk. That is going to be it's going to be key to the story. So, a quick encapsulation of Fantastic Four number 12. The first meeting takes place in these tunnels, alright? The Hulk gets the drop on the Thing, and, I guess you say gets the drop on the Fantastic Four. A fight ensues, but it's not much of a fight. But read that comic, you'll find out that the Incredible Hulk could be considered the victor. All right, so we'll just leave that at that. Okay, Hulk Thing Hard Knocks. Let me give you an idea of who the creative team is here, real quick. We got Jay Lee, who's on pencils. Jay Lee, I can remember some of his work when I was a kid, first collecting comics. His artwork was just it was strange. It was nothing like I'd ever seen. And I remember seeing him draw like Wolverine. His early work was in with X Factor. I can remember seeing him do some covers for Youngblood Strike File, which was an Image book. Recently, he's done pencils on the Dark Tower comics. If you're into the Stephen King's Dark Tower series, there's a bunch of comic series, and he does the only way I can describe his art is it's bleeding. It just looks like, tendrils of stuff coming off of people. He does it, don't get me wrong, his art does look good. The writer of this series is a guy by the name of Bruce Jones. Bruce is, I get online, I'm taking a look to see what he's famous for. First thing I saw was he's actually famous for writing the HBO series The Hitchhiker. I don't know if any of you remember that, but yeah, The Hitchhiker. He also was in charge of writing The Hulk between 2001 and 2003. So there's your creative team. Give you an idea, the cover, one of the other things that draw me to this series is the covers. The covers of these comics are actually really cool. each comic, there's 4 issues. Each comic has one of our protagonist or antagonist's face on the front getting hit or beat by the other protagonist, antagonist. Like the first issue here, it's got the Thing's head being pushed down into a bunch of rocks by a huge Hulk hand. And it's just a close-up of the Thing, getting his head smashed into the rocks. Second issue is now the Thing's got the upper hand. The Thing now has the Hulk in a headlock, I guess you'd say. He's got his head, and he's biting his eyebrow. Issue number 3, now the Thing's on the receiving end, a huge fist, and it's hitting the Thing right in the jaw, and like his teeth and, of course, rocks are just flying everywhere. Big close-up, of course, on the face. And then number 4, same, then we flip back. We got the Hulk's face, and Thing's fingers are like jabbing into his eye socket and his cheekbone. So what's really cool about these covers is the fact, each one alternates of one getting the upper hand, plus it's a close-up of this fight. So when you look at these covers, that's what you're thinking. I mean, of course, it's the whole thing. They're going to fight. They've never got along. That's what I expected coming out of this book. I expected it's just going to be nothing but fighting. But believe it or not, that's not exactly what it is. So here we go. So issue 1 opens up. Title of the issue is T for 2. We're brought to a setting where the rest of this book is pretty much going to stay. It's a bar out in the middle of the desert. And sitting at the bar is Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is drinking some coffee, I believe. The Thing just kind of walks through the door. He sits down, and he gets across to Bruce that he's got a story he wants to tell. So Bruce is like, well, what makes you think I want to listen? And the Thing just takes his left hand and smacks Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner goes flying backwards into the back of the bar. He's like, I don't want to tell you, I want to tell him. And so, of course, that turns Bruce Banner into the Hulk. So the next thing you see is the Hulk comes up there and sitting down beside Ben. This is not the same rage-induced monster. Now, as for what the Hulk's going through here at this point in time in the Marvel Universe, I can't really speak to that because I don't know. Like I said, this took place in 2004, 2005. But the Hulk seems to have definitely a lot more control. And the Thing actually uses that to kind of dig at the Hulk a little bit because the Hulk has, he has his wits about him. He can talk, no problem, he can understand, he can carry on a conversation. It's not all Hulk smash, rage-induced monster or whatever. He interacts with the Thing, and the Thing's like, look, I got a story I want to tell you. So the Hulk sits down and listens, and there's a good bit of tension between these two, of course, throughout this whole story. And like I said, the Thing antagonizes him a good bit. It's funny because Ben Grimm takes these jabs at the Hulk just to piss him off. And it's fun. That kind of makes it fun. But, all right, so the Thing tells this story about one of the initial encounters that the Fantastic Four had with Dr. Doom, which is the Blackbeard story. From what I understand, there was like a time travel story. They raided Blackbeard's treasure. The main point of the story is the fact that Dr. Doom continually well, I shouldn't say continually, but at this one point in the story, Dr. Doom berates Ben Grimm for being a monster. He calls him a useless monster, and that really stuck with Ben as the Thing because he's just useless oaf is what Dr. Doom was trying to get at him with. So he tells this story, and you could tell that it really bugs him. And that's the main part of it, is the fact that Dr. Doom called him this useless monster. In between parts of this story, things calm down for the Hulk, so he changes back into Banner. The Thing does not want to tell Banner this story, so he'll be sitting there talking to him, and again, just hit Banner, send him through the wall or something like that, and then the Hulk comes back. Of course, like I think the second or third time, the Hulk comes back and hits Ben Grimm, and you're thinking, oh man, we're going to get a huge fight again. But no, they trade blows, and then they're just like, hey, good shot, and then they go back and sit down and they're talking some more. But at one point, when the Hulk hits the Thing, he goes flying through the wall, ends up outside, and there's this little girl standing outside. He gets up, and there's this family, specifically the mom, and she's screaming bloody murder. Don't eat my baby. Don't kill my baby. Don't eat my baby. Ben Grimm's not going to do that. So he picks up the kid and hands it back to the mom. He's like, I ain't nobody going to eat your brat, lady. The lady takes off, and she's cursing Ben Grimm. But you could tell, again, this whole monster vibe really bugged him. He didn't, the fact that this mom didn't understand that he was a hero and would have never done something like that. So, again, while this was going on, Hulk changes back to Banner, slaps Banner again to get him to change back into the Hulk. And this time the Hulk gets up out of the rubble and he's like, to quote one of my friends, it's clobbering time. And that's the end of the first issue. What I find fun about that first issue is the fact that they like I said, they hit each other, but after they hit each other, they just kind of get back up and they're like, oh yeah, that was a nice shot. So that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the issues. And like I said, this is the setting. It's going to be in this bar for the rest of the series. According to Ben, he's still got a little bit of a story to tell. So let's go to issue 2. So issue 2, titled Truth Hurts. Hulk gets up out of the rubble and goes after the Thing. But the Thing's as good. It's been a while since I've whipped you. And the Hulk doesn't believe it. Hulk pretty much calls him a liar. But he says, why don't you tell me this story where you whipped me? And the Thing in this issue says, man, it'd be great if they're carrying on this civil conversation. Again, there's animosity between these two. It's almost like you're looking at two friends it's almost like Fight Club. I mean, seriously, these two guys that enjoy hitting each other. So Ben goes on about this little rant about how he wants to write a book and make a movie of all his stories. Now, one of the things that happens here is that it kind of pulls back from the diner that Hulk and Thing are in, and there's the military's keeping an eye on them. All you see, in the middle of this issue is there's a tank and some guys in the military uniform. As to what's going on, we have no idea. We just know that the military is watching what's going on here. Now, back to the diner. Ben begins to tell the story of Fantastic Four number 12, where General Thunderbolt Ross enlisted the Fantastic Four to take out the Hulk. There's a point where he's recounting what's going on, and again we start to see these issues because I think General Thunderbolt Ross, he didn't even say anything. He just looked at the Thing wrong after the Thing mentioned the word monster. Like, he couldn't believe the Thing was actually using that word to describe the Hulk because, the Thing was one. He gets really mad, and again, that whole monster thing comes up. Between the story, the Thing keeps jabbing at the Hulk. He's mentioning that Banner is becoming more prevalent in the Hulk psyche, and the Hulk can't stand this. The Hulk hates Banner, and he cannot fathom the fact that Banner is somehow influencing how the Hulk is acting or how the Hulk is carrying himself. And that infuriates the Hulk to no end. Ben's continuing to tell the story to the Hulk. He shows the Hulk a picture of a guy by the name of Carl Cort. I had to do some research on this because granted I've read some early issues of Marvel, but Carl Cort I had no idea about. Turns out that this guy was Bruce Banner's assistant, and this is from a story back in the 60s, basically Fantastic Four number 12. And Carl Cort was a villain by the name of the Wrecker, who was sabotaging, he's a communist villain, he's sabotaging military experiments and military hardware from within the military. They're flashing back to Fantastic Four number 12, where the Hulk and Thing first meet each other. The Hulk gets the drop on the Fantastic Four, because if you look at the cover of Fantastic Four number 12, they're Fantastic Four are coming around a corner. The Hulk's backed up in they're underground, by the way, but the Hulk is backed up on the other side, and he knows they're coming. So he gets the drop on the Thing and nails him with a punch. And the Hulk talks about how he remembers that night, beating the Fantastic Four, all four of them, and specifically getting the drop on the Thing and handling him easy. The Thing jumps in and says that the Hulk's got it mixed up. And he says, here's who really won the fight. And he pulls this picture out of the back of his pocket, and the Thing hands it to Hulk. And the final panel of issue number 2 is a shocked Hulk looking at this picture. And it's the Thing standing over an unconscious Hulk. Okay, issue 3. Issue 3 is called Monster Maker. The Hulk is extremely upset and confused, obviously, because now what he believed happened at the end of the fight in Fantastic Four number 12, supposedly Ben Grimm, the Thing, is showing him that, no, this is really what happened. And the Hulk isn't, he's very upset. So the Thing gets ready to leave and says, I just want to let you know who really won, and gets ready to leave, but the Hulk is continually calling him a liar and stops him and basically says, now let me tell you what really happened. So the Hulk is going to tell his side of the story now. And again, now the Hulk, picking up on what the Thing had said earlier about Dr. Doom, the Hulk is now jabbing at the Thing, saying, you're quite the ineffective monster. Of course, that gets the Thing's attention. Hulk recounts how they were about to throw down. Of course, his version of things is a little bit different from what the Thing had said. What he states happened is they were about to actually come to, they were going to start to get into a good fight. After the Hulk cheap-shotted the Thing when they first met, the Thing recovered and they were going to go, it was going to be a full-on battle. But before they could connect, the Wrecker, the communist villain, he had I think what they called an atom ray, where he ends up hitting the Hulk. The Hulk ends up getting weakened by this blast by this atom ray. And I think it also hits Ben Grimm too at the same time. So both of them, before they could actually really have it out, get hit by this ray, and they both are laying unconscious. The Thing kind of points out, because the Hulk story, he says, I was weakened by this ray, by the Wrecker's ray, and the Thing shoves another jab at the Hulk and says, see, you admit you were weakened. And of course, again, this infuriates the Hulk, so they start fighting again in this bar, or this diner. And again, they start talking through it, so just like their old friends, having a blast. Now the Thing kind of jumps in and says, now we're getting to the interesting part of the story. He says this is, they had captured Carl Court, and after they took him to after they'd caught him, took him to General Thunderbolt Ross, Doom's monster comments continued to ring through Ben Grimm's head. And all the stuff that had been going down with how General Thunderbolt Ross acted, it keeps going over in his head, and he starts thinking that he himself is a monster. And he's so bothered by this that he actually, they take a vacation. The Fantastic Four take a vacation. While on vacation, he has a psychotic break and just leaves screaming, "I'm not a monster," over and over and over and over, and just takes off walking. So the Thing just takes off walking, muttering to himself, "Not a monster, not a monster, not a monster." And then we get to the final couple pages. It shows the Hulk is out in the desert, just like he used to do back in the days. All he wanted to do was be alone. Walking toward the Hulk is this figure, and the last page is a very dark-looking Thing staring at the Hulk, and they're face to face, and he looks at the Hulk and he says, "You're the monster." We leave issue 3 where the story that Ben Grimm is telling. Now the Hulk and the Thing are going to face off a second time after Fantastic Four number 12. So that's the end of issue 3. So now we're going to get into the final issue of the series. Issue number 4 of Hulk Thing Hard Knocks, titled Upon Reflection. So we pick up in the past where the Thing runs into the Hulk out in the desert and promptly attacks him. This is where you think there's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. But clearly from the get-go, the Thing has the upper hand, and he gets the Hulk on the ground, and there's a whole page just devoted to the Thing beating the living crap out of the Hulk. I mean, just beating him. At the end of it, Ben, or the Thing, says, that's when the military jet from above passed by and took the picture of, the Thing standing over the Hulk. So, but he goes, there's one more thing. He says, you did something extraordinary that day, that while you were laying there. The Hulk says, okay, what's that? And the Thing says, you changed the banner in front of me. Now, at that time, nobody knew that the Hulk was Bruce Banner. So the Thing picks up Banner. Now, Banner's barely conscious, wakes up, and the Thing's got Banner by the throat. Now, mind you, the Thing's still not in his right mind. He's still having this psychotic break, and he's looking at Banner, and he's thinking how he could just snap this guy's neck, and that would be the end of the Hulk. But he realizes that what makes the difference between a monster and a man is the man inside that determines whether you are a monster or a man. So he leaves Banner back down on the ground and then walks away. So now we fast forward back to the present in our desert diner. Now all of a sudden, the military guys we saw, I think in issue 2, are making their move. And they attack. The Hulk might actually be getting ready to walk away when all of a sudden this rocket comes in and nails the Hulk. The Hulk gets up and he's pissed. And he realizes that the military, because when he wakes up, he sees the Thing talking on a radio telling the military to back down. So he realizes that the military that just struck him, just attacked him, is in league with the Thing. Of course, the Thing's upset that he attacked him without his orders. We find out that the Thing was actually going to try and talk to the Hulk before the military went in. And now there's a fight. We get a huge 4-page brawl between the Hulk and the Thing. And I was reading over the internet, and I think there was a list of top 10 Hulk Thing fights. I think this made number 3. And it's a pretty good fight. I mean, they're going back and forth. And the fight culminates when the Thing is about to punch the Hulk. And he is nailed by this when he steps in front of this huge high-grade missile that was aiming for the Hulk and hits the Thing instead. The Hulk takes advantage of this and goes over and is about to, he's just screaming at the Thing, I want you to know that the last person you see is me, that beat you. And the Thing is laying there saying, let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. The Hulk realizes that he saved the Hulk by taking the missile. Now, whether I can't remember if that was on purpose or what exactly happened, if it was accident. But either way, the Thing said, hey, I saved your butt. So the Hulk relents. And that's the end of the fight. And now the final page of the 4th issue is this diner that has been completely destroyed. And we see the backs of the Thing and the Hulk sitting on these stools looking out at the stars. The Thing's in a sling. You could tell he's pretty beat up. The Thing is going on about these movie rights again. So they're back to being friends and talking again. And the Hulk kind of jabs at him one more time. The Hulk says something to him, make Ben Grimm mad. And he's like, I think I'm catching my breath again. And that's the end of the issue. Closing comments on the series itself. I think it was a fun book. It was a quick read. It was a fun story. It was a good little additional story to the events that happened in their first meeting in Fantastic Four number 12. Prior to this story, I was familiar with, Hulk and Thing being good heroes, but adversaries a good bit of time. The Fantastic Four number 12, I for the life of me, if you asked me when the Hulk and Thing's first battle was, I would have had no idea up until these issues, doing this podcast and this research. The good parts about this book is, like I said, it's quick, fun read, and you get the Hulk and Thing in a fight, always a good time. Now the bad parts about this book, and these are all personal things. I say personal jabs, but they're not jabs. These are personal things that I have, and somebody else might appreciate this a whole lot different than I would. But Jay Lee's art of these two monsters, of the Hulk and Thing, it just looks ugly to me. But one thing I realized is that actually might be on purpose. Jay Lee might make these guys look extraordinarily nasty because that's what they are, and that's a big portion of what the plot of the book was about. As to whether I'm right on that, I don't know. Maybe Jay Lee's art just, I've always, like I've said, I've looked at his art and it's different, in the past books that I've looked at. There's, the 4th issue seemed to have a little bit of inconsistency just because, and there might be a reason for this that I'm not aware of, but the Hulk is talking like Banner in the past. I know a lot of the early Hulk issues, the Hulk was like the Hulk and Banner were total Jekyll and Hyde, and the Hulk had his wits about him, which might be, this is 1963, so that might be the case here. So, as to whether that was on purpose, because when you see Hulk encounter them, when they recount that in these issues, like issue 2, the Hulk is using language like, kill fireman, or basic words. But then you see the Hulk talking like Banner in the past. But that might be on purpose, too. Again, I don't know, but maybe what the Thing is doing when he's recounting this part of the story is taking a jab at the Hulk again, just to piss him off a little bit. I think I'm looking into it too deep, but hey. As for recommendation, I recommend it. I recommend the book. It's a good, quick read that gets the story across pretty well. If you can handle the art and are not paying full cover price for the book, because this is back in 2004, the book was going for $3.50. So if you're not paying cover price and you can get it for less than that, I don't think this is anything hot on the back issue market as far as I know. But if you can get a hold of it and you like Hulk Thing, it's a fun story. By the way, I believe this is Marvel Knights. It does say Marvel MK at the top. You know, Marvel Knights is usually a little bit more, I thought they were a little bit more extreme, which you don't see a lot. You know, there's not a whole lot of cussing in here. I'm used to the Marvel Knights being more adult, but I don't see a whole lot here. For a Marvel Knights title, that's not what I was expecting. I just noticed that. Swear to goodness, I just looked at the cover and said Marvel Knights. So, anyway, the Hulking thing fighting throughout the whole thing. I mean, you're going to get a Hulk thing fight in each issue. So, it may not be the knockdown, drag out that issue number 4 brings you, but it's building up to it. So, anyway, that's the end of my coverage for this. Thank you very much for joining us. Do not forget to subscribe to our new home by punching in W2M Network on just about any podcast platform to get all of our content into your audio feed. Also, give a like to the Radulich In Broadcasting Network and W2Mnet.com Facebook page in order to stay on top of everything that we have to offer. If you'd like to follow the Source Material Podcast on social media, just follow @SourceMatCast on Twitter, and we are on Facebook @Source Material Comics Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to share. We look forward to entertaining you again soon.